Hi everyone, Sean Malvin with Secure Cyber, and this is your weekly cyber update. Well, we've tracked 911 outages on this channel before, and now we're going to do it again. This time it impacted our local area right here where we record. In Dayton, Ohio this week, T-Mobile experienced an outage involving 911 circuits that apparently was traced down to a fiber cut somewhere in the area involving a third party. The 911 outage included an issue where it was only one side of the conversation that people could hear. It wasn't a complete outage, but it did interrupt the ability for 911 operators to complete the call. It also impacted our local hospital systems, involving the communication from ambulances back to the emergency room. There have been carrier issues before. We've reported on the 911 outages before. 2015, 2020, there was one in 2024 of April of this year, all involving fiber cuts or some type of infrastructure failure. This is an issue that's going to continue. The 911 system continues to not have the redundancy that it needs to have. There are a couple recommendations that we can make here today. One, be very familiar with where your local police department is physically and where your nearest fire department or firehouse is to your house. In the instance of a complete failure, physically driving to those locations may be the option that you have. The other option is to become very familiar with the 7-digit non-emergency line that you can dial in case 911 is not operational. In case you're wondering, 911 is just a quick dial for a 7-digit number. So when you dial 911 in the background, it's just dialing a 7-digit number that gets you into the 911 center. The difference is obviously 911 circuits or CAMA trunks, which are more routinely what is used, CAMA trunks, are designed with a lot of redundancy and resiliency in them that allow them to have good uptime. So unfortunately, though, what we see is the fiber cuts and the way the fiber systems are built are not providing that redundancy that we need, where a fiber cut shouldn't take down an entire 911 system or half a 911 system. Did you know that there's Bitcoin ATMs? A Bitcoin ATM security breach has compromised Social Security numbers and government IDs. The company Byte Federal operates 1,200 Bitcoin ATMs in the US. This data breach compromised 58,000 customers' information. The first time I ran into a Bitcoin ATM was in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. I had absolutely no idea these things even existed. But as we see Bitcoin going in and out and virtual currency becoming more and more of a thing, I believe that you'll continue to see these types of devices out and about because there's always going to be a reason or a need for somebody to transfer money into Bitcoin for whatever reason. And just to give everybody an update on the U.S. telecom breach, number one, thank you so much for all the views for the video that we put out. It still hasn't gotten the attention from the news media that I thought it would get. There seems to be a lack of official notifications from the government about this. Really, the only evidence that we have that this conference call even existed between reporters and Department of Justice, FBI, and CISA is the actual reporters that were there that then turned it into articles. CISA did publish a document with very loose guidance on it on how carriers could secure their telecommunications networks. But I wanted to bring up a few things here just to try and clear the air a little bit on what's happening. Number one, I've seen a lot of people jumping to Signal and WhatsApp, and I think those are valid apps to jump to. But just make sure that you're doing your due diligence and that you're writing the corresponding policy if you're a business that involves the jump to that type of technology. You've got to be able to educate your staff and your employees on how to use it and what the guidelines are for that. It's no different than what we would have done or what you should have done to integrate something like ChatGPT into your environment. The next thing is, we did that headline that said MFA over text is dead. And, that's painting with a broad brush, but I would consider it compromised and I would move on to either one-time passwords, authenticator apps, or things like YubiKeys. There's been a lot of discussions on that video. which we can link here on this video, about different tactics and techniques. So I highly recommend you go back to that video and read some of the comments that have been going on. I've been trying to jump in there as well and make sure that I'm commenting, but I think it's a great discussion. The last thing I wanted to bring up is, it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's something that needs to be brought up. If a nation state or a state-sponsored actor has access to entire critical infrastructure, whether that's the telecommunications system or the internet or whatever, just keep in mind that things like Pegasus has been discussed a lot. Pegasus is a piece of software and a technology developed by the Israelis, by the NSO group. There's been a lot of good and bad things associated with Pegasus and what it can do. Having the situation that we're in today could possibly present an opportunity for Pegasus to be deployed very easily inside a compromised network. So if the cellular network is compromised to the extent that it is, and we don't know that, somebody beat me up a little bit. I say beat me up, but somebody commented a little bit about how vague the information was that I was giving. That's information that's vague that we have. We don't have really good information indicating exactly what has happened, exactly where the bad guys are. And I think it's because they don't know. So I say all this to just say, don't panic. Do some simple things like making sure your phones have good operating system updates on them. Make sure that you're using things like Signal or WhatsApp to have sensitive conversations. Encrypt your phone traffic using Signal and WhatsApp. Encrypt your text messages using the apps. Just stay off of the plain carrier network as much as you can and use those apps. So just be smart about what is going on and just consider that network compromised. And if you want to have discussions on what you're having for dinner tonight or that type of thing over plain text, perfectly fine. But just be aware that this continues to evolve into a threat, just like the drones, which I'm going to talk about later. And we hope they didn't glaze over on this one, but Krispy Kreme experienced a cyber attack back in November. Krispy Kreme, of course, is an American multinational donut and coffee house chain. They operate about 1,521 shops and 15,800 points of access, employing about 22,800 people as of late 2023. The company filed an SEC filing indicating that they had some unauthorized activity back in November 29th, which did cause a disruption to its online ordering system inside the U.S. So apparently, in reading the article involving Krispy Kreme, the cyber attack did have a material impact on the business itself. There was no specific dates or estimates about that material impact, though, and what exactly it did. The company did expect a reasonable financial impact from the loss of revenue. So I don't know if this involved things like point-of-sale terminals being down or online order systems being down. The cyber attack apparently did interrupt the ability for Krispy Kreme to deliver its product to its customers and partners in some way. We're going to end this news cycle with just an opinion on the drones over New Jersey. This is a particular topic that doesn't necessarily have a cybersecurity implication to it. However, I am a drone operator, and I do have some insight into what is going on. So let's talk about that just for a second. Number one, the footage that you're seeing mainly on the media is manned aircraft. It's awful. They're showing you pictures of actual aircraft. There are some drone pictures involved in what you're seeing, but my goodness, if these things have been up in the air for 21 or 22 days straight, you can't tell me that somebody out there on the entire East Coast of America doesn't have a good nighttime, low light way to take pictures or get, some type of better resolution photo of these drones. Of all the camera technologies and everything that's out there, I cannot believe the amount of amateur photos that are likely phones that the media is just immediately turning around and putting on TV and saying that it's drone footage. The majority of what you're seeing is actual manned they're just aircraft. There's been a couple things that have happened too that may or may not be related to this. Apparently, air traffic control out in the New York and LaGuardia area had a shift in patterns, aircraft patterns. I don't know if that is impacting the situation, and we're just seeing devices that are not normally seen. I'm not saying that this isn't happening. I totally believe that there are unmanned drones flying around. I'm just saying I don't know if we have a really good handle on what is actual drone footage and what is not. And I think it's agitating the public in thinking that this may be some type of mass swarm, and it's not. So I just wanted to bring that up, that obviously there's a lot to interpret on these press conferences where I hear, government officials saying there's no actual threat. Well, then you know something. You know enough to know that it isn't a threat. So what information isn't being shared? And for all the news media that is sitting, maybe somebody's listening from the news media, can you ask better follow-up questions? So if somebody does answer and say, there is no evidence to believe X, well, then what evidence do you have, and what are you not sharing back with us? So all I want to say is just be careful about what you're seeing on television, because I don't think it's a 100% accurate description of what is happening, and I think it's just going to agitate people even more. So I wish there could be some type of better control on the type of information that you're receiving, just so that we can, at least squash some of the stuff that isn't valid to what is happening. But we will continue to monitor this. I am interested. Obviously, some of these drones are flying above 400 feet, which is the threshold in the United States for consumer grade drones. So if these are commercial drones, they are flying at high altitudes. Some of them do appear to be lighted correctly. But then there has been rumor that some of these drones, if approached, the lights turn out. So I don't know. There's all kinds of theories out there. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying be careful about the information that you see on television, and make sure that you're getting, wherever you can get it, that you're getting good, accurate information about the drones. But I'll keep an eye on it for you. And that's all we have for this week. So we'll have one more week next week, and then we'll take a little break for Christmas, and then we'll come back strong in January to provide you all the headlines in the cybersecurity and beyond. So let's be careful out there.